afternoon. I'm standing at Swinton's normally busy train station. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's obviously, in the times that we're in, very quiet at the moment. Swinton is the 6th busiest train station in South Yorkshire after Sheffield, Barnsley, Doncaster and Rotherham and Meadowhall. Swinton can actually, on a busy weekday, can actually have as many as 1,500 passengers using the facilities here. This station is actually Swinton's 4th station. Now that might sound quite quite unusual for a town of the size of Swinton, but maybe if I go through the story of each of the different stations that we have had. So this is station number 4. I'm going to show you a picture now of Swinton's first train station. Now the railways first came through to this area in 1840, and that was the North Midland Railway, the line that ran from Derby through to Leeds. And if we can take a look at this image here, the upper image is an illustration of Swinton's first train station. That would have been built soon after, as soon as the line come, ready for the passengers. Now if you can just look at the line of the hillside here, actually you can about make out how the landscape looks now. So we're pretty much on the same spot, and Swinton's current station is actually built on the same spot as its original 1840 station. So 1840, the line came through from Derby, going through to Leeds, and at that time there was no connectivity to Doncaster. So people would disembark from the train at Swinton and then they'd move down to the canal, to the Sheffield South Yorkshire Navigation, and they'd actually get on a water bus. And that situation lasted until about 1849, when the connection was put in at Swinton Junction down to go towards Mexborough and connecting towards Doncaster. So Swinton Junction, I'm going to show you photographs of the signal box which then existed. So we'll look at this image first. This is the Swinton Junction signal box, which controlled the junction down towards Mexborough, and it controlled the block between the Swinton stations and Wath Road Junction going towards the north. Now another orientation of the signal box is on this much older image, where you can actually see some of the signal gantries. And if you take a note of the chimney stack there, that's the chimney stack of the Dale Brown Glass Works. This is taken in later years when the signal box had disappeared, but you've still got the then and now image of the chimney, a more later chimney there. This is now all gone. This bridge is now being fully refurbished, and the metal work has now disappeared. So this is a later image which shows where Swinton Junction station was. Moving on then in time, Swinton's second station came along and around about 1870, and that was a completely different railway company. So we have the North Midland line here, and the next line that came along was the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway, the MS&L. That later went on to be called the Great Central Railway. And so because it was at the central station, around about 1870, this is looking from the Talbot Road bridge, and the Swinton Central Station was round about this area here. There's the Sheffield and South Yorkshire Navigation. In this area here was Mexborough Locomotive Depot, and that's where Swinton's second station came, the Manchester, Sheffield, Lincolnshire Railway. And because we'd got a new station, they created a road and they called it New Station Road. And there we have an image now of New Station Road, because this was the way that you went down to get connectivity with Swinton Central Station. So we move on in time, and the North Midland Railway became the Midland Railway, and they decided to build a new station just somewhat slightly north of where we are. So in 1899 this building opened, which was Swinton's third train station, and this is now an engineering factory. Again, this is an older photograph because there's been new fencing installed, but pretty much the building looks as is. Interesting story about this particular building, because apparently there was a mix-up in the architects department, and this building was meant for Darfield, and for some reason there was a mix-up and they built the Darfield station in Swinton, and apparently the original design for Swinton's Midland station was built in Darfield. So an interesting little story there. This third station was you had to go underneath a tunnel and then up some steps, and there were 4 platforms on Swinton's 1899 station. So this served us until 1968, when services were abolished and the platforms dismantled, and we didn't have any rail connectivity from Swinton, because the Swinton Central station that I spoke about earlier, passenger services ceased from there in the 1950s. So we had a period of 22 years where you had to go, and if you wanted a train, you had to go to Mexborough or elsewhere. Thankfully, though, but before we get to the next point, I would just like to mention the fact that Swinton actually had a railway named after it, and that was called the Swinton and Nottingley Railway, more usually known as the S&K. Now the photograph I'm showing here shows 4 lines, which again are to the north of where we are at the moment, and this is going towards Waterroad Junction. This is pretty much how it looks today. There's now only 2 lines and 2 tracks have been removed. So you've got a then and a now picture. Also missing from today's image is this, and this is the Dearne and Dove Canal, showing on this earlier photograph when that was still in water. That's a story for another day, the Dearne and Dove Canal, but you can see there, and here we have the remains of the Dearne and Dove Canal now, pretty much filled in and no water in it. But returning to the railways, beyond the point here, which is round about Waterroad Junction, that is where the S&K, the Swinton and Nottingley Railway, branched off. And the Swinton and Nottingley route is the route we now take today towards Leeds. In fact, it's the only route that exists, because beyond Waterroad Junction, the line which went through to Wasp North and on to Cudworth is now completely removed. So we join the line now at the former route of the S&K, the Swinton and Nottingley Railway. Now, I did mention before the Swinton Junction signal box, and this is a relic from that signal box. It's actually called a train register record book, and the signal staff had to record every time that something happened, in case of any need to sort of follow up afterwards. So this dates 1971, and it does show all the different trains that came through. It shows the signalman changing duty there, signing on and signing off, and it shows a record of every movement that the signal box, the signallers carried out inside that signal box, plus any notes. But to get to, fortunately then, in the late 1980s, the curve from Swinton Junction, the signal box that I mentioned, which was long gone, that was reinstated, and this is a photograph of the track bed, which shows what is called the Swinton curve. This is the link that now links Swinton directly with Mexborough, and this was built in the late 1980s. You can see this is before the lines went down. The works are on here, just off Whiteley Road, and you can see the bed for the ballast. That was crucial in getting connectivity throughout South Yorkshire. So it's funded jointly by the South Yorkshire Passenger Transport Executive and also some finance from the European Union. So when Swinton Curve was restored, we could then realistically look at getting services back after the gap of 22 years back to Swinton. And sure enough, in 1990, we had to great joy the reopening of Swinton's new station, and this was the timetable, your new Swinton station, and this showed you the trains and the information that's available. So really welcome back, and it has been proved its great success. by the passenger numbers. As I said, there can be 1,500 passengers through this interchange on an average weekday, in normal times of course. We are very fortunate. We have an hourly service to Leeds, 3 trains a day, generally in the direction of Rotherham, Meadowhall, Sheffield. A couple an hour at least towards Doncaster, direct services to Hull, and also even direct services to the coast at times. Another fortunate thing is if you get the very fastest trains, you can get connectivity from Swinton, South Yorkshire. You can be in London King's Cross in just about a couple of hours. So that is a real bonus again for the area. So Swinton's Fall Station, we're back where we started. We're back on the site of the 1840 station here at Swinton Interchange. So that's a little bit of history about the railway in this part of South Yorkshire. So thanks very much for listening, and hope to see you next time.